let's go ahead and jump into it. So everybody's least favorite thing, interviews. We're going into an interview. What mindset do we need to have? Walk me through from a candidate's perspective. What is my goal when I walk into this meeting?
Oh, Ben, do you care if I take a stab at this first?
Yeah. I'll kind of walk through this. I mean, the mindset, honestly, is to obviously present your best self and into an opportunity on your end, and more or less just to get to know the organization and let them get to know you as a professional and as a person. I think companies in today's age, we're not out there to hire blocks of information. We're not out there to hire bullet points. We're out there to hire human beings. So presenting yourself in a way that reflects that, right? I think is where I would go into it from that standpoint. Clint, what have you got to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I like that idea. You're not blocks of text or blocks of data or bullet points. I think mindset wise is having the idea that one, like someone needs your help. Like if you're the candidate, someone out there needs your help, but maybe they just haven't found you yet, right? And so this is those steps of them finding you because you're the person that they need there. And the second piece is realizing that they probably have some type of problem they're trying to solve, right? And then their boss is looking to them, like, hey, go assemble the right team because we have this big challenge that we're taking on. And so when you show up to interview, it's hard to sometimes take ourselves out of the, a self-centered mindset. Like, well, this is about me. I need to find a job. Like, yes, of course, that's what's going on. But for that, the moments you're in the interview, be more focused on what does that hiring manager need from you, and what does that team need from you, and how could you make that hiring manager look good to their boss, and kind of focusing in on that as you prep for an interview and we step into the interview, seeing where you can relieve the stress and reassure that hiring manager that you're the person that can help progress the agenda that they have for their teams.
So what I'm hearing from you is even if it's not a sales role, you are selling yourself as somebody who can fix their problems in this call or in this meeting.
Yeah. And I think we're and we'll get into this towards, I think, later on in this webinar, but having some ideas of where you can relieve their stress and find out what is their, essentially, what's the biggest things on their agenda that are stressing them out, what's keeping them up at night. If you can find those things out early in your interview and be able to come up with ideas on the fly of where you can address that or past examples of where you've addressed a similar issue, your odds of them hanging up the call and be like, wow, Ciara asked me some really good questions and I feel like she wants to be here to help. Like, I feel like she can relieve my stress. If they hang up the call and that's the feeling they have, their odds are a lot higher that you're going to get that job versus someone that just kind of stuck to the script about reading their resume back to the hiring manager versus saying, hey, what's stressing you out right now? Like, where can I actually address this and help you out?
So it's a value add proposition.
It's a value add proposition. And it's also the feeling that you want the hiring manager to have when they hang up the call, when they hang up the phone or the Zoom or whatever it may be, is that were you pursuing this mutual path with them to try to solve this problem that they have versus you just being focused on you and saying, okay, what's the benefits? When does it start? What are you guys going to pay? Like, kind of stay away from the logistics of it and especially in that first call, staying away from the logistics and focusing on where can I come in and add value to that team and asking questions around that your odds are going to be higher that you're going to make it to the next stage of the interview.
Yeah, I'll step.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, absolutely.
I wanted to kind of unpack something that Clint said there a moment ago. At the end of the day, identifying their pain points is going to be crucial, right? And then being able to express ways that you can step into those areas and help them fill those gaps, cover their needs in a way that's going to make all parties better from the organizational standpoint, whatever that role is. I think that's the true key, the true nut, if you will, on this end when it comes to addressing the need for that interview space. Sorry, Ciara, go ahead.
I was going to say, but in addition to kind of solving the hiring manager's issues and your technical skills, we're going to be looking at a lot of other things that are really going to go two ways in an interview, right? Because you're not just interviewing me, I'm deciding if I want to bring my skills, expertise to you. So talking about company culture, what is going to fall under that we're going to be looking for?
And you want to start on that one? I'll follow up on the back end of it.
Ciara, can you restate that one more time?
What, besides technical skills, I know we're going to be looking for company culture, personality fit. Give me an idea of hiring manager. What are all the things that you're going to want to touch on in an interview?
I would want to touch on where would they need me to, in the first 90 days, actually adjust and become a part of that team and start to add value. Um, and again, that's the question I would probably ask there is like, how can I make a big impact in the first 90 days? And just leave it open. And that could be whether you're interviewing to be a CEO or you're interviewing to be an intern, is saying, where can I make the biggest impact in 90 days? Um, you'll start gathering information about what's going on the team. Ciara, you mentioned something the other day when we were prepping for this one about asking about the backgrounds of the other people on the team. Do you remember what you asked? Can you throw that back out there?
Oh, my favorite interview question. You guys can save this one. What are the characteristics or personality traits of somebody who does well in your team or at your company?
Yeah, that's be great. So if we had those two things going on, okay, what do you expect to happen in the first 90 days? And tell me about the good people on your team. Like what's the attributes of those people that do well on your team? I think the two of those things, you quickly start to assess what's going on there. Like what's the environment like? Another thing that I would like to ask from the interview is like, hey, what's the toughest situation you think I'll take on that first month I'm on the job?
Yeah.
And um, sometimes you'll get them. Sometimes I'll make it a noise, like it as a window, like one of those noises. Like, where do we start? And that might be like a little bit of caution, but like, okay,
Yeah.
there's a lot of tough things happening. Like, get them to go ahead and start spilling it because you don't want the surprises when you show up. But also, if they're really stressed out, something they're really stressed out about might be like your jam. It might be the thing the best. You're like, oh, I love those types of problems. Keep them coming. What else you got? And so getting them to express those things early about what's going on in the current environment. So again, kind of like what Ben was saying, let's get away from bullet points, both on the job description and bullet points to your resume. Let's talk about the real situations that are happening right now and getting them to describe that environment of like what's really tough right now, what's some of your best team members, and what are we expecting to get done here in the next quarter, next 90 days. That should give everybody a better reality check of what's going on with this job and whether or not it's going to be something you want to keep pursuing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I know we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the different types of interviews later in the call. But at a high level, why don't you run me through what types of interviews you can expect in terms of if it's a phone, video, what are our options nowadays?
I'll speak to that one. So obviously you've got your traditional interview path, a phone interview and then the on-site portion. What we're seeing more and more, obviously post-pandemic, are the video interviews. And I'm seeing a lot of companies that are hiring right off of the end of a video interview without bringing someone into the office. So, that's really kind of the core structure, if you will, these days. I think the nature of interviews has probably changed a little bit as well in terms of the breadth of individuals that a person can talk to, a candidate that can talk to in the core of a company interview process. Now, in the past, it was an HR person and maybe going straight to the boss. Now we've got team leads, we've got, ancillary bosses, the individuals that might not be your boss, but would be a level above that they would want you to meet. Now, there's a lot of different angles and such that you can be introduced to now that probably weren't the case 10, 15 years ago. I'm just seeing a lot of that and more now to where people want you to not only meet the individual that would be your direct level boss, but also a team lead, a person that you wouldn't directly report to, but would have some major influence over your role, over your position within the company. I'm seeing a lot of that these days. So.